Oh, hey dudes, fancy seeing you here. It's that holiday season, and I'm certainly getting into the festive spirit. But you know what else it means? It's the end of the year. Let's take a look and see what I've done over the past year, and by the end of this video, I can either feel good about myself or not. I know I already did the yearly money video, but that's about financials. I wanted this video to be more about what I've done throughout the year as a little recap, and there are games that I've made that weren't for sale, so I'd like to talk about those as well. Every now and then there comes a time when we think of something in our head and it sounds kinda cool, but then if we follow through on it, it turns out it's kind of a terrible idea. This year we started out by developing KIRO II, the Wizard's Guild. This was an online multiplayer dungeon crawler where you navigate through randomly generated dungeons by using text commands like walk right or swing left. You could join with up to 6 players and it released this past April. KIRO I has actually been my best-selling game, and it took the least amount of time to make. It technically qualifies as a roguelike, since you go through a dungeon and find weapons to kill all the bosses, but if you die, you lose everything. Well, it sounded like a cool idea to make a multiplayer version of it, but I also added in an inventory system that persists and a leveling system, which in hindsight probably is the exact opposite direction that players who like the original would want, since it's not a roguelike, and that instantly reduces all the possible updates it could get. But yeah, that didn't work out so well. The devlogs kinda fizzled out, and not a whole lot of people ever played the game. While I think polish would have helped out, I think the concept just wasn't it. But I still had fun playing the game with my friends, so at least there's that. Let's move on to something different. Something with a little more jam. That's right, I thought it'd be a good idea to make a bunch of small games in different genres. It's kinda like a game jam, but I didn't really feel like signing up for those, and I wanted to just make these on my own schedule. I still wanted randomly generated prompts though, so I made this little spinner wheel and came up with the Blekohjam. The idea was that I could spend a few hours each week and try my best to create a game with a prompt from the wheel. I decided to make it a 2-hour time limit, and I'd record the entire development as if it were a live stream, so that it could not only get a little game dev experience, but also a video that didn't take a long time to record and edit. In fact, my rule was that I had to finish all of it, including the editing, within about 4 hours, which I normally would edit each one down to about 25 minutes, since I figured nobody really wants to watch the entire thing. Before we check out the games, I will say 2 hours was probably too short to make some actually cool games, but I still had fun, and at least they qualified as a playable game. Part of what made this a challenge is that I had to spend a decent amount of my 2 hours to just figure out a game idea, since the prompt was generated by the wheel. Also, I had to make all of the assets within the time limit, since I shared all the source code for every game. Alright, so the first one was a superhero platformer game called Power Man, where the map is randomly generated and you fly around to collect energy. If you run out of energy, you lose, and if you find the goal, you win, loser! The next one was a little survival game where you walk around and collect food and water and try to avoid enemies. It's not very fun, and it kinda ended up looking like Power Man, so for the next Blekohjam, I decided it would be 3D just to switch it up a bit. Blekohjam 3 was a game where you're given a quest to go murderize a maiden in a blue dress. All of the characters were super high quality, made in Blender, and even had voice acting by yours truly. If you successfully go find the maiden in the blue dress and take her out, then you come back to the quest giver and you get an extremely rewarding end screen. Congratulations, you win! By now, I was getting more used to the Blekohjam, so the next one actually turned out to be kinda cool. It's called Dissension. It's a 3D puzzle platformer game where your goal is to go out and find the 3 artifacts in the world and bring them back to the pillar. It's actually pretty hard to beat, but since I also made a soothing song for it, it still feels enjoyable. I was pretty proud of this one for being made in only 2 hours, but overall, the Blekohjam wasn't the greatest of ideas, since they didn't do very well, so I decided to end the series, at least for now. For the rest of the year, I focused on a single game, Okashi Towers. It's a real-time strategy game with tower defense elements. It's up to 8 players over the network, has matchmaking and custom lobbies. It has a built-in map editor so you can create your own maps and even script custom game modes. Unfortunately, this one sold less copies than KIRO II. Even though it hasn't done so well, I feel like this is definitely the best game I've worked on so far, and I still have an ongoing devlog series for it. While a lot of these games might not be very good, I've gotten a ton of game development experience over the past year, especially with Godot, and with multiplayer networking. so I'm still pretty happy with all the things that happened in 2023, and hopefully I can use that to try to make something special in 2024.